Hey everyone, it's Alissa here, and I have another message for you today. We're going to be talking about resistance and the 7 principles of resistance for the artist. I just want to let you know that the most important thing is to just show up for your work, and resistance is like the equal and opposing force of your creative inspiration, your creative output. So anytime that you have this upwelling of creative inspiration and inspired idea, and you start getting to work on that, whether it's like creating a piece of, maybe it's a song or you're writing, whatever your medium is, you will meet resistance. And oftentimes it doesn't come right away. You be super inspired and excited about this idea that you have. You start creating, and eventually what happens is you start to feel resistance. What is resistance? What is it? So resistance is self-doubt, it's fear, it's excuses. Those are some of the big ones that resistance can manifest as and appear the way that it can appear in your life. And I just want to let you guys know, I feel really emotional today. I feel a lot of emotions welling up, like sadness and anger and all these things. And I'm here because it would be easy for me to just be like, oh, I don't feel very good, I'm not going to do this. But again, maybe that's resistance, right? So resistance, it's like, I gave you examples, but it's like insidious. Is that how you say that? Insidious. Yeah. It's like that thing that just like can creep in at any moment, and it can be extremely convincing, and it will do anything. It will stop at nothing to make sure that you do not do your work in the world, that you do not create. So there are 2 forces, right? It's that creative impulse, and then it's the resistance. So that's why it's so important to recognize it, because it will win if you don't call it out and you don't recognize this, and it wants you to minimize it so that you never get to realize your full potential. And believe me, this was like a hard thing for me to like fully accept and recognize, because I mean, it's like, you don't want to think that something is out there like that, right? So you can be in denial about it, and it can also just appear in ways that can be very convincing and seem practical on reasons why you shouldn't be doing your work for whatever that looks like. So I'm going to read from Do the Work by Steven Pressfield. So, when you and I set out to create anything, art, commerce, science, love, or to advance in the direction of a higher, nobler version of ourselves, we uncork from the universe ineluctably, I don't even know what that word means, an equal and opposite reaction. The reaction is resistance. Resistance is an active, intelligent, protean malign force. It is tireless, relentless, and inextinguishable, whose sole object is to stop us from becoming our best selves and achieving our higher goals. So, one thing that we can never permit ourselves to do is to take resistance lightly, to underestimate it, or to fail to take it into account. We must respect resistance. So, I want to give you the 7 principles of resistance, okay, to understand this better, okay? I'm going to go through half, and then I'm going to play you a song, and then I'm going to go through the rest. So, principle number 1, there is an enemy. The first principle of resistance is that there is an enemy. In our feel-good social safety net, high self-esteem world, you and I have been brainwashed to believe that there is no such thing as evil, that human nature is perfectible, that everyone and everything can be made nice. We have been conditioned to imagine that the darkness that we see in the world and feel in our own hearts is only an illusion which can be dispelled by the proper care, proper love, proper education, and proper funding. It can't. There is an enemy. There is an intelligent, active, malign force working against us. Step one is to recognize this. Dude, that just kind of reminded me of like the steps in AA. I think the step one is like to recognize and admit that you're powerless over whatever your addictive behavior is. Step one is to recognize this. Except for we do have power here. We do have power here. There is power in recognizing this. So this recognition alone is enormously powerful. It saved my life and it will save yours, Stephen says. Principle number 2. The enemy is implaceable. So the enemy is intelligent, protein, implaceable, inextinguishable, and utterly ruthless and destructive. Its aim is not to obstruct or to hamper or to impede. Its aim is to kill. This is the second principle of resistance. Let's go to number 3. The enemy is inside of you. Pat Riley, when he was a coach of the Lakers, had a term for all those off-court forces like fame and ego, not to mention crazed fans, the press, agents, sponsors, and ex-wives that worked against the players' chances for on-court success. He called these forces peripheral opponents. Resistance is not a peripheral opponent. It does not arise from rivals, bosses, spouses, children, terrorists, lobbyists, or political adversaries. It comes from us. You can board a spaceship to Pluto and settle all by yourself into a perfect artist's cottage 10 zillion miles from Earth. Resistance will still be with you. The enemy is inside of you. And I'm sure you felt this, right? Like the term, we're our own worst enemy. Principle number 4, and then I'm going to play you a song. One of my originals, it's called Addicted. The enemy is inside of you, but it is not you. So the 4th axiom of resistance is that the enemy is inside of you, but it's not you. What does that mean? It means you are not to blame for the voices of resistance you hear in your head. They are not your fault. You have done nothing wrong. You have committed no sin. I have that same voice in my head. So did Picasso and Einstein. So does Lady Gaga and Donald Trump. If you got a head, you've got a voice of resistance inside of it. The enemy is inside of you, but it is not you. No moral judgment attaches to the possession of it. You have resistance the same way you have a heartbeat. You are blameless. You retain free will and the capacity to act. So, push my chair out of the way and play a song for you guys. Actively facing resistance. All right, this song's called Addicted. Walk into my car, it is getting dark, and I'm thinking of you. As I drive away, I wonder if I should have stayed, said something to you. 'Cause what I feel is a longing and aching a pull for your arms around me. And what I wanna know, I'm a hopeless romantic. I just don't wanna be addicted to the wrong thing. Please tell me how you act for me. Please tell me how you act for me. Watching clouds pass by, the darkening of the sky, and I'm thinking of you. As I drive away, did I make a mistake, leaving too soon? 'Cause what I feel is a longing, making a pull for your arms around me. And what I wanna know, I'm a hopeless romantic. I just don't wanna be addicted to the wrong thing. Please tell me how you act for me. Please tell me how you act for me. Please tell me how you act for me. All right. That was fun. And also simultaneously terrifying. Almost shaking. Woo! Okay. So, I hope you enjoyed that song. Super fun song to play. Okay. So we are on principle number 5 of resistance for the artist. The real you must duel the resistance you. So you are the knight and resistance is the dragon. There is no way to be nice to the dragon, or to reason with it, or negotiate with it, or beam white light around it and make it your friend. The dragon belches fire and lives only to block you from reaching the goal of wisdom and freedom, which it has been charged to guard to its final breath. So, you gotta fight it. It is a war. It is a war. Make no mistake. Principle number 6. Resistance arises second. So this is kind of like what I was talking about at the beginning. When you have this inspired idea, you're like on fire. You're like, fuck yes, I'm going to do this. And then it slowly, maybe not so slowly, but it creeps up second. What comes first is the idea, the passion, the dream of the work, and we are so excited to create it that it scares the hell out of us. Resistance is the response of the frightened, petty, small-time ego to the brave, generous, magnificent impulse of creative self. Resistance is the shadow cast by the innovative self's sun. That's beautiful. Okay. So, principle number 7. The opposite of resistance is assistance. So in myths and legends, the knight is always aided in his quest to slay the dragon. Providence brings forth a champion whose role is to assist the hero. Theseus and Ariadne when he fought the Minotaur, Jason and Medea when he went after the Golden Fleece. In Native American myths, our totemic ally is often an animal, a magic raven, say, or a talking coyote. In Norse myths, an old crone sometimes assists the hero. So all of these characters or forces represent assistance. They are symbols for the unmanifested, and they stand for a dream. The dream is your project, your vision, your symphony, your startup. The love is the passion and enthusiasm that fills your heart when you envision your project's completion. Sometimes when resistance is kicking my butt, which it does all the time, I flash on Charles Lindbergh. What symphony of resistance must have been playing in his head when he was struggling to raise the funding for his attempt to fly across the Atlantic solo? You're too young. You're too inexperienced. You've got no credentials, no credibility, Everyone who's tried this has failed, and you will too. It can't be done. Your plane will crash. You're going to go down. You're a madman who's attempting the impossible. What saw Lindy through? It can only have been the dream, the love of the idea. So the seventh principle of resistance is that we can align ourselves with these universal forces of assistance, this dream, this passion to make the unmanifest manifest. I love to call it formless to form. There's so much that wants to move through us. So this dream, this passion to make the manifest or the unmanifest manifest and ride them into the battle against the dragon. And finally, resistance has 2 tests. So I believe these are going to be 2 questions to ask yourself that are really, really powerful, that will just sort of filter through all the bullshit, and you will just like know if you're fucking serious about your work, okay? Or if you should even try. Resistance puts 2 questions to each and all of us. Each question has only 1 correct answer. It's fun. Test number 1. How bad do you want it? This is resistance first question. The scale below will help you answer. Mark the selection that corresponds to how you feel about your creation, your creative endeavors. So there's a little spectrum that goes from dabbling to interested to intrigued but uncertain to passionate, and finally, totally committed. Where are you on that spectrum? How bad do you want it? If your answer is not totally committed, put this book down and throw it away. Or give it to someone else that maybe you think might be. Okay? And then test number 2. Why do you want it? So here are the answers that you have to choose from of why you want it. For the babes or the dudes, for the money, for fame, because I deserve it, for power, to prove to someone, to prove to an ex-spouse, a mother, teacher, coach, to prove them wrong, to serve my vision of how life and mankind ought to be, for fun or beauty, or because I have no choice. If you checked 8 or 9, you get to stay on the island. I know I said there was only 1 correct answer, but 8 and 9 are really 1. So, for the fun and beauty and because I have no choice. Think about it. What I've learned in my life is that, everyone is subject to different patterns. Patterns of behavior, archetypal patterns, and until we interrupt those patterns, they will just keep repeating themselves. They're patterns. And what happens is, if you are self-aware enough and you reflect on this, you'll notice it in your life, right? And I know if you're watching this, you are. So what are your patterns? And what I've noticed, and my point in this is that the more that you allow resistance to win, it's like, and you sort of avoid your calling and you avoid your work, the more you're going to get your ass kicked, and that the lessons that you learn are going to become more and more and more severe. It's going to cause more suffering, more pain, more chaos, and chaos isn't bad. Like, there is a purpose to chaos. I don't mean it in every kind of context. I just mean it in, like, you basically create so much drama in your life and pain and suffering when you're avoiding that work that you're meant to do in the world. And so the longer that you wait and you run away and you're not answering the call, the more you're going to suffer. So it's like choosing between what kind of suffering you don't even have to really suffer, but it's like choosing between what kind of like fear that you want to contend with, because it's like you can let fear control you by not doing your work in the world and not showing up and sharing it and being visible with it and putting yourself out there. Or you can be afraid and do it because you're still going to have the fear. It's like, how are you going to use that fear? It can be a tool for you, right? It can be like, okay, well, the fear can either like shut you down, destroy you, or you can use that fear and just do it because you're going to have the fear anyway, right? You're still going to feel the fear, but you can utilize that fear. And so yeah, it's like there's no way around pain and suffering in this life. And I just challenge you to make it worth it, make it worth it. So that is my message for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye.